guest we have is Andre Berlin from Deep Work, a gentleman I've worked with in the past, and happy to bring his work out to some other folks here. I'll read the bio here to give him a proper introduction. So Andre Berlin is an expert in Web3 native business management and organizational design. He's a creator of the decentralized design studio and organizational consultancy Deep Work, with experience from over 100 different organizations, services, products, and co-living environments, ranging from open source teams, startups, enterprises, and Fortune 500 companies, including the Ethereum Foundation, Edge and Node, Consensus, Maple, and a ton of other teams. Happy to have you aboard here, sir.
Yay. Thank you so much, Nathan. And
Yeah.
a huge pleasure to be here.
So just a disclaimer to the audience: we have a couple tricks up our sleeve that may or may not bomb, but we're happy to go and proceed with it anyway to see how it goes. So, Andre, maybe a very basic question, like, what are you doing in the space?
Well, I guess in a nutshell, I've been building a design firm since 2017 approximately, and my interest was not just to build user-friendly products that solve real-world problems, but most importantly, build an organizational structure where people can work from wherever they want, on whatever they like, whenever they find time for it. And it took a lot of research in social science, in cybernetics, in complexity science, and a lot of other domains that kind of relate to organizational design. And I would say that the design studio works really well. I have a really amazing community of people that I really, really enjoy working with, and also consider them my best friends. And I'm basically currently helping other people figure out how to achieve the same while creating a profitable organization, so that not only people can work on things that they love, but also everybody makes money and the organization ideally also makes a profit.
So it's like an anarchist collective? Like, is this a syndicalist?
I would say it's more like a collective. So everybody's a freelancer, because anarchy kind of implies that there's no structure and everything is chaotic. But there is a structure. It's mostly based on organizational models like the Teal organization or sociocracy. There are management structures or like hierarchies. But it's a collective of freelancers who hold each other accountable to do the best, to bring the best out in each other, and also do the best work they can, because they love working together and they don't want to risk not working together anymore.
You know, I'd say that I've been in the space since 2015, and I think the only thing that matters is how the actual team functions and ships product. And what have you found? There's the corporate overlord line, which is, unless you're in an office 8 to 12 hours a day, you're not functional. What have you found in that zone?
In the zone of when there's no corporate overlord, I think just a lot of joy.
Horrible.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have a corporate overlord, then you can focus on the things that matter to you. I mean, I see work as something like a substantial or like one of the most fundamental elements of life, next to sleep, moving, socializing, eating, and stuff. And I think purposeful work in general, or a purpose-driven activity, is something that we all really enjoy. And so if we're not forced to do that, it's the same with, like, if you're being forced to eat something, you don't like that. But if you can choose what to eat, then you have a better experience. And if you can eat with other people, then that's an even nicer experience.
So your sort of flat management structure plus meaning. In the current crypto cycle, what do you find meaning in?
Oof.
Honest question.
Yeah. My observation is that the entire economy is shifting. So we see a lot of churn with people kind of switching organizations faster and faster because they burn out. And I'm just mentioning that because it's not exclusive to Web3 or crypto. In this cycle, what I notice is that things are also shifting. Traditional business models or incentive mechanisms or marketing strategies stop working because there's a lot of automation and noise, and people don't like noise. In the last cycle, people were way easier with spending money on random stuff that doesn't really matter. This cycle, we can see on the charts that investors actually don't spend money on most things. So it's actually very difficult to raise funding for anything. And everybody's much more careful about what they put their money into. And so everything seems to kind of shift more towards relationship-based or reputation-based collaborations. Trust is especially important. And you cannot, so far, we don't have really good mechanisms to replicate real-world trust online. So in crypto and crypto Twitter, everything is shifting more and more towards kind of being not trustworthy and like just being shared for clicks, views, shares, likes. And that's not the way that people like living life. People, I think, like working together on cool stuff and trusting each other. So I think we're kind of going from the trustless meme more towards infrastructure, needing infrastructure that supports trust.
So I'll take the I'll take the bait here, which is like when you have a bunch of people that generally talk like this, they hardly get anything done. So how is it that you actually convinced people to talk like this and do things at the same time?
By having a record of their work and knowing and storing that so that everybody who is going to work with them in the future can see that record or can at least ask for that record. Because if you have a record that is kind of peer verified and where people actually get other people's confirmation that yes, they fulfilled their promise, they did the work, they did it really well, and that's visible, that's a very, very strong signal of trust. Like normally you would trust people who make a promise and then they fulfill the promise, or ideally also over deliver on that promise. And we basically want to replicate that in the digital space so that not only you have that one-on-one relationship with someone, but also that kind of confirmation or like that trust is visible to other people. And that helps us hold each other accountable. So for pretty much everything I do my best to find someone who can hold me accountable for it, because I don't want to disappoint them. And I want to get better at the things that I think are useful.
Amazing. Got it. So you've established a sense of integrity among your DAO.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Cool. So maybe you could share with us some of the work that you guys have done for some of the clients I mentioned, or happy to learn.
Sure. I can. So we started a lot in working with Web3 companies on their products and brands. So a lot of the products like for Maple Finance, for example, or for Beefy Finance, you might know those. We designed the interfaces. You can check them out at deepwork.studio. One of the things we did from the beginning was never sign NDAs, so we can actually publish the work. And actually make other people see, even though obviously like everybody can make up their own mind if they like an interface or not. We do our best not to hide anything. We designed the Ethereum Launchpad when was that? 2022, 21? I don't remember. And so that was more product design related. And then we did a couple of like smaller projects more related to organizational design with Gitcoin, writing some documentation for their workflows, for example, or with Cello. They were building a few DAOs or like DAO communities, and we help them kind of like align on a mission, figure out who their stakeholders are, what value they want to provide. It's actually like based on a lot of existing frameworks from Agile and from like the Lean Startup, if you're familiar with that. If you're interested in anything of that, I can probably also bring up some of the case studies and share those.
Well, so the audience listening to this is probably pretty niche. So I suspect that they'll probably want to hire you guys. So it's really a free airtime on AM FM radio here for you.
Yeah, sure. Hold on, let's see. What do you think is most interesting? More of the design work, more of the organizational work?
So I mean, design is very interesting, but just so people can get a flavor of what, like, if they're running a protocol and they need some people to do XYZ, like they call like deep work, and then like your performing group of anarchists get together and and perform together.
We sing songs,
Yeah.
dance in circles. Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm still currently working on, or like we're actually reworking our website, because one thing we noticed over the last 7 years is that it's actually not very easy to identify which stage of kind of product development cycle you're in. And so a lot of clients who worked with us reached out to us because they wanted branding, for example. And then we're like, okay, sure, we can do that. It's like, several weeks or sometimes like a month or two, depending on the complexity of the project. And it involves like figuring out visual identity sometimes, creating a website. And a lot of times during the project, we realized that they're actually not even ready for that yet, because they don't even have a community. They don't even have a running product. And that led to them kind of like just going in circles.
Yeah, but I've got this idea.
Right. And then the next day it's like, oh, I have a new idea.
Yeah.
And if you rely on a process that actually needs to solve a problem, which is for branding, for example, establishing a trustworthy connection to your community and connecting your organization to something that other people can refer to as something that they share values with, then having new ideas every single day is not really conducive to the process. And it's basically like you just don't have that problem yet. So long story short, what we're trying to do is essentially provide people and founders and tech teams in the space with a way of identifying where they're at and what they really need right now in order to get unblocked to the next stage. So in the very early beginning of building an organization, so when they reach out to me or to any of our creative directors through our website, we first we almost like give them a free UX audit or a free organizational audit in order to understand where they really are and what is working. Do they have a mission statement? How do they interact with their stakeholders? If they already have a running protocol, how do they care for their community, for example? And a lot of times we notice that there's like some components missing, or like some of the kind of parts are not in the right place, or they're not refined enough. They're not enough alignment on the mission statement, or there is not enough like diligent user research that confirms the actual value that the protocol or product produces to the stakeholders. But there's the tool, and there's like users who have bought tokens, but the tokens are like made up more or less, or like the value is not quite not there. So we need to we want to find out where would they need to kind of I mean, in reality, it's just like I think every team is trying their best to create products that have an impact or make sense. And there's a lot of different strategies, and there's just a lot of kind of struggles and bottlenecks. Like yesterday at dinner, I met someone who was building a social media or like an influencer protocol, and they were like, yeah, well, we have users, but somehow they don't stick, and they just leave. And it's like, okay, well, who are your users? Why are they there? And it's like, yeah, we have a token. And okay, cool. Tell me what that stands for. And that's sometimes there's just not kind of enough granularity of the underlying value proposition or like value structure, not a lot of alignment on the mission. That team in particular was also struggling with development because they pivoted a lot of times until their team actually stopped caring about building the product. And so they ended up like basically letting go of a lot of developers because they just didn't want to do the same thing over and over again. And so long story short, we try to first analyze what's the actual problem that needs to be solved, and then kind of provide them with the exact right solution so that they don't overspend like 100,000 on the branding and visual identity and website, which will have to be redone in 2 weeks anyway, because they don't really have users. And instead run a workshop for like, I don't know, $500 that gives them confidence on what their market is and full alignment on their team, on the direction that they're heading, for example. So it really depends on the specific stage and the specific challenges of the project. So we try to first analyze where they are at and do some kind of testing or ask questions about what the challenges are.
So it seems like you guys are like a Swiss Army knife of teams, right? Do you have like AI developers? Like, what's the extent of your
So
skills?
far, not really. I am looking into AI at the moment for also, again, like solving specific problems, because most of the AI space is also very, very overvalued, and a lot of tools are not actually like user tested properly, or not really impact or are meaningful in some way. They have been overfunded, and they are trying to find their purpose. They find their use case. So we do have a network of individuals, but we didn't get to that stage really yet because it was just not important. I think it's much more important to give people the confidence that what they're building actually creates value first. So I'm personally focusing on that, and like right now, just getting cohesion among the team and setting the foundation for how things work, and kind of give the teams the confidence or the tools to increase confidence in their abilities as a team. So yeah, right now we have designers, we have facilitators and user researchers, people who really work with people and understand the psychological aspects of any product and organization. And then we also have a development team because we started building our own platform to kind of support us and also similar organizations in this framework. And then, yeah, we do sometimes like smaller side events or like smaller salon events where people can actually meet and work with each other. These are generally the skills we currently have and the work that we really do.
I listened to responding to what you said, I listened to this talk at 2049, Token 2049 by Murad about meme coins and the importance of meme coins. I'll post a link to it here, but it is it's amazing. And
sorry.
it's just,
Oh wait, that was the one you shared in the Signal group.
yeah,
right?
I'll share it in the YouTube links as well. But it's just like, we think like, speaking as a builder, like and as somebody, especially in infrastructure, which is where Landslide is, and we're deploying it. We've deployed it already, but now that it's kind of open, it's Murad's thesis is meme coins are the next really big, not well understood movement, which is great. And he enumerates 50 reasons why, and people are looking for connection and community and meaning and somewhere easy they can plug in. They don't have to talk about IBC relaying and double consensus signing, slashing, whatever. No one cares. We care because like that's part of our neuroses in the space. I think that we just like to discuss, the finer details, but he really dove into why people join something, and it's that people want to be a part of a community, and when a community gets larger, it's like a cult. And like, what does that mean for us as humans? It's that we like to tell stories, and that it's these particular stories that create the value that we associate with our lives.
Yeah, and we want to be part of really cool stories as well.
Yeah.
And the better the stories, and the more, I think the more impossible the stories sound, and yet the more evidence there is to the potential to follow that hero's journey and reach the end of the story, the more exciting it becomes to want to contribute to that. I think there's a good reason for why Elon Musk is choosing kind of impossible mission statements for all of his projects. And actually, like, with X, it was like very interesting because he just like applied his template from the other companies onto X. First thing is like,
which blew up in his face.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. But it's like it's also interesting because that was something that he knows is a tool. Like, the free speech thing. It's an idea. it's not there. But like, if you support this initiative, you fight for free speech. If you support SpaceX, you support like what do you call it? Interplanetary life. So a lot of these things. So and then he supports that with evidence. Like, here's the rockets. Like, they actually go to space. I've done them
sometimes.
Sometimes they come back or not,
or they explode
in pieces. Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to share any of your experiences, like if you want to go through, I know you have some tricks up your sleeve, so if you want to share any demos or whatever, I'm happy to go through that.
I think so. One thing that I've been recently playing around with, or that I think so. So one of the things that I find very valuable for most teams is to think about three kind of areas that are the most overlooked in most of the startup space, and that's like internal cohesion, market and user research, and resource management. And I can share some examples. Obviously, like I think I'm not sure if it's worth going through case studies because they're all like public and people can just explore them themselves. I find value in, or I think at least it might be useful to share some tools to actually solve these or like work towards these how do you say, goals of internal cohesion, product market fit, and long-term profitability or sustainability. And yeah, maybe I can, hold on, let me share a few slides. This is based on a presentation that I did in East Tokyo a month ago. Let me see if I can just share my screen here. So there's basically like three things that we noticed that a lot of really good companies do that are almost inexistent in most startups. So internal cohesion, user and market research. Should move on also. And resource management. Okay, that's going to be covered. That's fine. And like one of the things we noticed is that there's just a lack of clear goals. And there are a couple of really easy, how do you say, exercises you can do yourself. So I know it sounds like woo-woo, but mission statements and values are exactly what we just talked about. So like aligning on that, like what, why, how, that's Simon Sinek popularized that exercise. Very, very helpful to make sure that you have organizational cohesion around a specific mission. Values are going to actually make you stand out among the competition. And this is an important one because in Web3, the default mode of thinking is like, we have abundance in technology and we have full accessibility. So what that's going to lead to is like this pluralism of a lot of different projects, and very many of them are going to be similar. So you can't just fuel money into something and make that like hyper grow. So you have to find ways not to compete with everybody else, but actually find how you can distinguish yourself from everybody else. And so that's what you do by figuring out who you're building something for, what you're building, and also like your values. And then your past performance is going to validate that for the people that you're building for and create trust. And the way that, okay, this is something related to organizational structure. Let me just quickly, so this is I think a very undervalued tool for any kind of teams. It's called Note and Vote, popularized by Jake Knapp. Uses sticky notes, but it basically removes the need of running any meetings and wasting any time on meetings with people to actually kind of align on something or progress. And the idea is essentially that rather than discussing something, like discussing a problem, you would just write it down in a team. You set the time, write things down, get people to read through it in cluster, and then vote to prioritize. Yeah, if next time we can also try out if in an interactive way, but essentially what you want to do if you, for example, have something that you notice you're going in circles around, or your conversations are like not ending, and you just can't align on what you want to work towards, or like what problem you're trying to solve. Try this exercise. Just write down how might we's. So rather than actually problems, you write down them in HMW statements, how might we statements, which already make something sound way more solvable, way more approachable. And let everybody do that, so that there's a lot of examples on your mirror board or wall if you're in a physical space. And then cluster them, let everybody read without discussion, and then vote to prioritize, and see just what comes up, and then you can discuss and make sure that you're clear. And this really, really quickly, within minutes, gives your team already a good indication of what you want to achieve and what you should prioritize. And I can share an example from any of the projects that we worked on, because almost every project we start with that exercise to just align the team on what really matters. So let me bring up, for example.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say that that our team at Landside worked with Andre on this, and we found it very useful. It's a really interesting way to align on organizational goals. You know, a lot of us, we get tied up in our heads or stuck on something, and it's hard to communicate. So it's good to have this as a periodic check-in.
Yeah. I can also share the, hold on, let me try, a bit of an issue with the screen share. Can you throw out this screen share somehow? Because I can't seem to close it.
Yeah, I'll cancel it, yeah.
Okay, cool. Nice, okay, thank you. And then I'll try it with a different page. Oh no, that's not working. Okay. Source, there we go. So I can share with you, you can see the Beefy Finance page, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can also like look through all the other case studies on our website, deepwork.studio. Like there's quite a lot of them. But the Beefy Finance is just one of the kind of most interesting, because people just know it. There you go. And yeah, we basically start with, what is the challenge? So what are we working on? And we did that in this mirror board. How might we keep existing users happy? How might we add the user's experience without breaking the habits, attract and inform new users? Now, this is related to product design, so keep that in mind. But these prompts were like really helpful to then actually come up with real world, or like with real solutions that the team was able to implement. So I can show you how that looked on the collaborative board. Here's the whiteboard. So here was the session of the how might we's. We categorized them, looked through them, prioritized them. These were the ones that I just also mentioned. So, or actually, there might be. No, wait. These are. It is a different sprint. We did like 2 sprints and iterated on it. So this might be the follow-up board. Yeah. So this is, for example, that was very important to them. So how might we prioritize them, reframe them into challenges, and also set a goal. And then, for example, how might we effectively communicate the choice for vaults, and how we detach Beefy from the negative impact. Then we go through a user journey, get some inspiration, and then the particular components that we found in this project were, for example, we came up with a risk score for a product page. So before we worked together, there was just a list of vaults, and you were just like, oh, cool, this has like the highest TVL, or this has the, APY, or annual percentage yield. And so people just went for the most, regardless of the risk. And so what we essentially built in was this kind of risk profile for each individual asset that they listed in their product. And that's very important because like this whole process took like in total 3 days. But after 3 days, we had the entire wireframe sketched out based on these kind of collaborative exercises with sticky notes. So it was very fast. That based on that, we did basically exactly 1-to-1 based on the storyboard, the actual prototype.
Amazing.
And,
so this helped them launch a totally new product that kept their users interest
happy
and safe.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it kept them safe. So that was actually very cool, because back when we worked on it, most of these aggregators for tokens were mostly capitalizing on how do we make the most money? Just like, I mean, Beefy was the extreme case, because they had like APYs of I don't know, like thousands, millions of percent per like token. It did not make any sense. They had percentage numbers with letters behind them. So not just M's, but also T's, and some of them had Q's. Like, that's not a number anymore.
That's not a number.
And it was actually quite surprising to me that they were interested in getting people more confident with like what that actually means. Like, this is like super high risk. Like put your money into that, sure, and it might blow up, but then also it might go down really, really quickly. And they actually put a lot of work into educating people around like what does that actually mean in this particular case. So yeah, that was very, very cool.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's fantastic. There were so many clients you had listed there. What I mean, there's like a ton of stuff that you've done. Maybe you could share what you did with the Ethereum Foundation.
Yeah, we actually worked twice with them in the past. First, let me just share that. So first, we worked with them on a challenge of actually identifying or trying to align on what their how their community perceives themselves. So what is Ethereum as an ecosystem? So it was kind of like we framed it into a website. It wasn't really used as a website, but it was an exercise to align different participants of the ecosystem, from community to developers to the leadership. And oh wait, this is the let's see, this is the launch pad. To align on how they perceive what Ethereum is, and somehow make sense of it. Because again, also like these, this is the landing page. Let me see, the public identity. Yeah, right. Like what they see that the public identity is.
Interesting.
Open, scalable, decentralized. So we gonna use the same exercise of like a lot of stickies to define like the use cases, or like how do we see how do we articulate what Ethereum is, and just like try to make sense of the words and agree on something that could be a written statement, or that could be referenced in the future. We did create like a visual representation of it, not that it was like used for any website or anything, but if I remember correctly, it was just kind of an internal document that summarized the results. So we went through a bunch of different exercises. Some of them are also exercises that you would do in branding, when you kind of want to identify what the mission is, and like the values. Let me share with the board real quick. So I think we started with the branding exercises, like a roadmap, which is very fun, like a 20-year roadmap. the what, why, how exercise that I mentioned earlier, the audiences. So yeah, these are these. How do people describe and feel about the personality? What's the competitive landscape, the values as well. And then in the second session, we also went through like the use cases and what is Ethereum good for. So it's not just like an exercise for alignment, but also for kind of collaborative sense making. And also one of the reasons why I think this is like very, very useful to do is because we know from, especially from Web3, these processes for writing a proposal or collaborating on Google Docs and on like larger text documents or even websites or other digital assets, and they usually have a very long time, and the collaboration usually takes a lot of conversations that are going back and forth. And these sticky note workshops, regardless of which framework you use, are almost like a very short version of that. And I think it's very powerful because it aligns the people who can participate in that really, really quickly, and also give you a sense of progress, and because things kind of happen, and you get feedback from everybody else what they like. So we were also doing sketches and stuff and voted on this. So it's like a little bit of a much smaller scale and way shorter version of what we know from collaborative like document writing or even like the programmatic governance when people vote with tokens on a certain piece of content or something that they prefer, or like a proposal. So the dots are also kind of like the votes, the tokens, just not like Web3. Yeah, and then the other thing that we worked on was the Ethereum Launchpad, which followed a similar process that we did with Beefy that is shared. That was first coming, like the main challenges for this Launchpad were actual safety of assets, so that even non-developers understand how to use it and how to not, because many people had the experience of sending funds to a smart contract instead of the right address. And so we kind of emphasized on all the different security or like safety concerns throughout the process of learning, what to do with your 32 ETH and how do you deploy it so that it's, or like how do you send it to the right address that is actually staked, and feel good about it as well and feel safe about it.
Great. Well, what else would you like to have listeners understand about how to work with your studio?
How to work with my studio? Okay, well, maybe what's helpful is also the way that we actually work together. Our intention is to do good work, and do cool work. So the way that we collaborate is by being as specific as possible about the outcomes and the deliverables. So again, like we usually start with a free consultation so that we know exactly what we're working on. Because the thing is, like, we don't operate like a traditional design studio in a way that I explained earlier. We don't have like long-term people who are on a contract, so nobody's forced to work on things. So if the collaboration or the expectation for the deliverable is not quite clear, people can just back out before it happens. And our community doesn't want to get burned out, so they get really sensitive towards understanding whether what they're working on is actually valuable, if it's nice, if it's something that they will enjoy working on, and also if they can see that there's a specific end to that project. So that's why we basically like productize all services in a way that there's a very, very specific workflow. This is also why we share the case studies, so that it's very, very clear what to expect on both sides, and when that's really useful, so that we don't get into misunderstandings. So that's why we also kind of scope out the exact process and the workflow milestone-based, so it's clear to both parties that, yes, we're still working on the right thing and we can progress together, or there's also an opportunity to stop or like change the direction of the project at the end of each milestone. So yeah, we start by understanding the project, then creating a proposal together, usually in a collaborative workshop that is already kind of revealing certain aspects, or we go through how might we's or through specifics about the particular needs like stakeholder research or like stakeholder alignment or mission alignment. And then based on what's really needed, we create a bespoke proposal so that we also don't know, we don't do anything that's, you know, like too much or not needed, or actually like solve the challenges that the team is facing. And then we find the team, which is by that time actually usually already more or less interested, and put that together. You can always check what the team members have been working on in the past. So we always kind of have that record of their work that we can share. And then we start working together again, like with milestone-based payments, so that we all know what to expect at which phase, and there's no like large commitment to fund or to commit to a very big project at once. So we always split that up into kind of manageable steps to reduce the risk on both sides. And then we just create basically deliverables for each milestone.
Great.
Maybe one thing. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Well, did you want to share something, this demo that you had, or we could keep it shorter if.
Oh no, I mean I can talk about this for hours.
Oh.
I just don't want to bore anyone.
Well, I think what might be really cool is to have just people reach out to you and encourage, like your team is such a wide, diverse group of folks that I think I think there are enough people in Web3 that are listening to this that they should reach out in case they need to augment their team in some meaningful way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to give any advice on specifically. I think what's I know the struggle of building like a company and an organization, and I was at a real life event recently with a lot of founders and investors, and it's very easy to talk about these things publicly, that you're building something that's very aspirational and stuff, but nobody really sees the struggle and the blood and sweat that goes into it. And there's a lot of things that just don't work, and it's tough. And I understand a lot of these issues deeply and also personally, because I've also been through a lot of the things that haven't worked out, and I'm more than kind of happy to listen to the challenges that anyone is facing, because they're very reasonable. And again, like, I believe that everybody is trying to do their best with the products, and if any of the things that I've shared resonate or solve a particular or even give you an idea or something, I'm very happy to jam on them. Like, I'm generally very excited to jam on ideas of something that could be very cool and very useful and make other people's lives better. Maybe one thing that I also wanted to share is or maybe we can, I don't know. Let me think about if that makes sense. It's a little bit of a different topic, so I'm thinking about like organizational structure, if I should go down into that rabbit hole, but I can also, like, we don't have to do that right now, maybe.
Well, we can keep it. I think what would be really interesting for people, I know it would be interesting for me, is to sort of broadcast this live. So to have someone come on who's like, who would be comfortable doing it. I mean, even if it's a mock thing.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone who's willing to, definitely.
Yeah, we'll find some people in the group, in our groups, that would love to do it. I think that's probably the best way to showcase deep work.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that sounds fun. I would love to do that, and I would love to, play around with ideas and like kind of unpack certain things. And obviously, kind of, I think that's also very cool for the projects, for people who are building stuff, and to share their products.
Yeah. Well, let's plan that. I think that'd be great.
Cool.
Well, we could wrap there if you want. Like, I think that's a good spot to wrap.
Yeah, sounds good. I think we went through a lot of really cool stuff, and I really appreciate your questions.
Sure. Yeah. Selfishly, like we have a ton of products that we'd like to build, and a lot of them have just been shipped. So now we're in a new space. So it'll give us a chance to sort of restructure our organizational abilities as well. That's
Yeah,
why I
totally.
book these things.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, actually. Like, you learn a lot from other people and how they build things and how they approach things differently, because everybody's going to have a different strategy and everybody's going to have to find their own unique way of um, building their thing. It's a, we're most of us are working on things that have never been done before, and it's exciting and scary. And I think I the space that you're providing with this, I think, is a really cool way of like collaborative learning and learning from each other on working on and building these things and unpacking the different struggles and challenges throughout time.
Well, great. We're happy to broadcast it live. Well, Andre, thanks so much for your time. I encourage the listeners to check out deepwork.studio, and hopefully we can bring you back on another one with some live demos.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
Great.
That was fun. Thanks so much, man.